The 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup is proudly brought to you by SunBet, Red Square, Bridgestone, the tyre of choice, and Kawasaki South Africa. Welcome to the 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup, Round 3, Race 2 from Kyalami, which once again forms part of the Extreme Festival. In between races then, the pit lane was frantic as riders all chipped in to try and get Adi van Dalen back out on the track. Unfortunately, his motorcycle was beyond repair for the race. However, Michael Smith kindly loaned Adi his machine, and Adi would be back out on track on an unfamiliar motorcycle in race 2. A lot of prep work to be done then, changing of wheels, changing of tyres. That set up all important, an unknown machine to Adi, so he'll have to dial it in as best he can and hope and pray for the best. As we take a quick look at the combined qualifying results then, grid positions would remain the same for race 2 with the exception of Adi van Dalen, who qualified in 5th place. He would now be relegated to the back of the grid in 28th place after changing motorcycles, and that is of course the rule in the SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup. Change machines start at the back of the grid. Helmets on then, visors closed, and those steely eyes of determination, those eyes of focus as we begin race 2 of round 3 at Kyalami. As the lights went off, it was away we go for race 2 here of the 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup. Round 3 at Kyalami, a fantastic start for most of the field, which we've become accustomed to here in the SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup. Clinton Seller with a whole shot, Damien Pufficati looking on the inside there at Crowthorne of Trevor Westman. Trevor Westman railing it around the outside, braving it out to take that all-important second place as the riders made their way through the Yuxkay sweep, heading into Barbecue, which leads you onto the back straight. It was Clinton Seller ahead of Trevor Westman, Jason Lamb, Damien Pufficati, and that is Han McMahon with a fantastic start. Speaking about fantastic start, Graham from Idal with a much better start ahead of David Faringa, Apana Ganapathy, and Teddy Brook. Also a great start there by Keith Agliotti, who was ahead of Johan Leroux in the early stages. Byron Rothqual ahead of some riders there as well, and that includes James Barson and Piers Canute on the number 7 machine. So a fantastic start there from Piers, who would want to make his way further up the grid, further up the field to score those all-important points. Stephen Gogotti around the outside of Lubas, heading out of Barbecue onto the back straight, and they were ahead of Perron, who was ahead of Ian Harwood, who had made a cracking start just ahead of Jairo Cruz, and that is right behind him, that is Raymond Keel on the number 33 machine. As we take a ride on board with Han McMahon for the start of race 2, a fantastic initial launch there from Han, a little bit of a wheelie there from Damien Pufficati, who heads on the inside, Trevor Westman on Han's outside, and that is Jason Lamb sandwiched in between as they head into turn 1. Crowthorne for the first time on lap 1. It was Clinton Seller with the whole shot. A fine start though from Han McMahon as we take a ride on board. A different angle, a different perspective with Trevor Westman heading out of Sunset on the first lap into Clubhouse. Great to see the movement of the riders. Speaking about movement, that's movement on the inside of Jairo Cruz by Ian Harwood, and that is heading into the Crocodiles. A fantastic start, so Ian Harwood capitalizing on that and having a great initial early battle with Jairo, and that is Perron just behind him as well. At the early stages of the race, it was still Clinton Seller out front. Damien Pufficati trying to look for a move up the inside of Trevor Westman heading into Clubhouse. As they get out of Clubhouse, a little bit more drive there from Damien, who now looks up the inside going into the S's. That is a very brave move, which he did make stick. So Damien Pufficati was up to second then, ahead of Trevor Westman in third and Jason Lamb in fourth. And that is Han McMahon, followed very closely by Graham from Idar, who looked to be getting to grips with his ZX10 machine. Speaking about getting to grips, that was Adi van Dalen, who was riding the number 49 machine of Michael Smith, who kindly loaned him the bike to compete in race 1. The number 37 machine, that is of course Byron Rothqual on the Pool Warehouse Magic machine, having a fantastic outing in the second race. Heading into Ingwe, it was still Han McMahon ahead of Graham from Idar, who was just ahead of David Faringa, who was trying to bridge that gap to the two riders in front of him. As we take a ride on board down the main straight with Han McMahon, listen to that Kawasaki ZX-10R machine scream its lungs out. Heading into turn 1, gently going from 6th gear down to 2nd gear here, and that's heading into Crowthorne. Across the line for yet another lap. It was still Clinton Seller out front with a little bit of a margin then ahead of the rest of the field, but the rest of the field was still tightly packed together as they battled to make their way, to make that all-important progress to the front of their respective groups. It was still Trevor Westman chasing Damien Perfecati as he ran a bit wide out of Crowthorne. He was looking to bridge that gap. There was no gap here though, and that is Aubrey Marais ahead of Piers Canute, Perron around the outside, and this was a whole group of riders that were packed together, battling it out for those top positions throughout the whole race. Johan Leroux ahead of Apana Ganapathy, Keith Agliotti, Teddy Brook, Mudita Huisman, that's going through barbecue. Behind him, Adi van Dalen, who had now bridged that gap, as further behind James Barson, under massive pressure from Stephen Golgotzi. And this is that group we were talking about. Perron there ahead of Raymond Keel, as we take a ride on board with David Faringa on the beautiful Wheels and Lines ZX10 machine. He was getting closed down by Johan Leroux, Apana Ganapathy following him as well. And the rest of the group, Adi van Dalen still very much behind Tita Huisman, and that's Aubrey Marais ahead of James Barson, and they had now started to gap Stephen Golgotzi, who needed to get those hooks in if he wished to close that gap. Graham from Midar heading through the S's, he had now got ahead of Han McMahon, and he was chasing one of his best results so far in what has been a difficult, challenging 2024 season. Jason Lamb in third was now applying the pressure to Trevor Westman as Trevor headed down the Mineshaft sweep. He was followed very closely by Jason Lamb and Graham from Midar, who were not far behind, looking to get one of their best results so far out of 2024. As we take a ride on board with Peter Huisman on the number 70 machine that's heading up to what was known as Westbank, it's now Leeuwkop, and that's around the outside. That's Adi van Dalen, who was making his charge from the very back of the grid, having a sterling ride on board a machine that he was not familiar with and had hopped on for the first time in the second race. That is still a great performance there. That was Renatus van der Kerk having a ding-dong battle heading down the mineshaft, and that was with Lubas as this battle still continued with James Barson, Aubrey Marais and Stephen Golgotzi, the number 134 machine of Michael Lowe, adapting and getting quicker with every outing. Speaking about quick, that's Keith Agliotti with a fantastic ride with a vastly experienced Teddy Brook applying that pressure just behind him. Not a man you want behind him, because if there is a gap, Teddy will definitely take that gap. Adi van Dalen was now bridging that gap, having got past Dieter Huisman. He was bridging that gap to the two riders in front of him, looking for a top 10 result, which would be an amazing comeback after the disappointment of his crash in race 1. Apana Ganapathy also having a sterling ride as he was still chasing a few riders ahead of him, trying to get well within those top 10 overall positions. Damien Perfecati on his beautiful ZX10, on his comeback, having a sterling ride, now in a safe and lonely second place. Behind the battle between Johan Leroux and Apana Ganapathy, it was raging on for the top 10, and that was between Keith Agliotti and Teddy Brook and Adi van Dalen. Speaking about raging on, no one was able to match the pace of Clinton Seller up front, who was looking at making it 6 out of 6 wins and a clean slate so far in the 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup. Heading up to Leeuwkop, it was still Trevor Westman in third, followed by Jason Lamb and Graham from Midar, who was getting hotly pursued also by Han McMahon. That was a battle which was raging on, and that was a battle for the final podium position in the second race. As you can see, the riders heading down to turn 1, which is Crowthorne. Han McMahon at the tail end of that leading group then. But speaking about a group, and it was a group of 1 out front, and that was Clinton Seller still dominating the race. But Han McMahon wasn't done yet, applying that pressure to Graham from Midar, who was in turn applying the pressure to Jason Lamb. Renatus van der Kerk had now solidified himself in a great 13th position as this battle raged on, and it was now the closing stages of the race as the riders once again headed across the line. Further back, and Adi van Dalen had now got past Keith Agliotti and Teddy Brook into a fine top 10 position, a sterling ride from the back of the grid. Speaking about great rides, Perron on his debut looking very, very good, but obviously wanting a lot more, and is capable of a whole lot more. Oh, speaking about capable, Perron, you can't go on the inside there of Jaya Cruz, who firmly shut the door on the newcomer. Late on in the race, it was Dieter Huisman setting PB lap times as he fended off the hard-charging Byron Rothwell and Lubas behind him. Speaking about hard-charging on the inside, Apana Ganapathy in Clubhouse trying to make a move on the vastly experienced man. That was Johan Leroux in front of him on the number 44 machine. But up front, heading into the final stages, it was still Trevor Westman in a great but lonely third place. He had now managed to gap Graham from Bidar, who was having the ride of his season in fourth place on his Stefanucci stock ZX10R machine. He was ahead of Han McMahon, who was trying to close that gap down. And behind him in a very lonely but sixth place was Jason Lamb, who was having a bit of a disappointing race in his standards in the second heat here at Kyalami. But disappointing by no means was the man up front. That was Clinton Seller on his King Price Extreme Kawasaki, waving to the crowd as he approached Ingwe onto the main straight for the final time. It was Clinton Seller on his King Price Extreme Kawasaki with the clean sweep, 6 out of 6 so far for the 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup. Behind Seller in second, it was a great ride by Damien Pivricati, a great return to action by the Anderlecht Racing man, a great second place there. And in third place, it was Trevor Westman, who had managed to hold off the hard-charging Graham from Bidar and Han McMahon. Jason Lamb, a bit of a lonely sixth place, disappointing as he got closed late on by David Feringa, a fine ride by David Feringa into seventh. And across the line, Johan Leroux managed to hold off Apana Kanapathy, and they were closed down late on, but not enough time there for Adi van Dalen, who finished off and closed out the top 10 position. Dieter Huisman, a fine ride, holding off Baron Rothwell for 14th place, and that was Lubas just behind them in a fine 16th. Further behind, though, Stephen Golgotzi was holding off the hard-charging Aubrey Marais, Jairo Cruz, and Perron with Piers Canute on the number 7 machine. He would have been wanting more after a great last outing at his home track in Cape Town at Killarney. As the rest of the riders crossed the line, the rest of the field, it was Clinton Seller out front. He took victory, an ecstatic Clinton Seller. Also a great ride there by Trevor Westman and Graham from Bidar waving to the crowd. Let's take a look at the results for race 2. It was Clinton Seller ahead of Damien Pivricati, Trevor Westman, Graham from Bidar, Han McMahon, Jason Lamb, David Feringa, Johan Leroux, Apana Kanapathy, and Adi van Dalen rounding out the top 10. Baron Rothwell, a fine 15th ahead of Lubas, James Barson, Stephen Golgotzi, Aubrey Marais, Jairo Cruz, Perron, and Dieter Huisman. Trevor Westman looking ecstatic in Parc Fermé. Jairo Cruz, a great thumbs up in what was a great day out for round 3 of the SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup at Kyalami. I'm here with Johan Leroux, also known as Johan the Snooze, out in the pit lane. The fastest man. I mean, as you age, you just get quicker and quicker. How do you do it?
I don't know. Look, it's not actually a playing ground for the old and elderly, I must admit. But hell, I'm enjoying. As long as I'm going to enjoy it, we'll be on 2 wheels.
On 2 wheels. And how was your racing today?
First heat was a little bit hectic. Second heat, much better. I'm happy.
Awesome. Well done, and we'll see you at the next round.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Renatus van der Kerk. So a great a poor weekend turned into a great weekend. It never started off well. Tell me, this doesn't look like your new bike. So tell us how your weekend started and how it ended.
It didn't start too well. Well, it felt comfortable. Went through the S's, lost the front. Part of racing, what can we say? Bike's a bit broken, but grab the other bike and you came racing. Have to.
Great stuff. And your first and second race went well?
First race a bit better. Had a poor start on the first start. Second start was a lot better. Was behind when you won and then. Felt good. Ended 11th. All in all, with all that happened, it was like a second race. Start wasn't too great. I start drilling on my starts. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Second, bike's still in one piece. I'm still in one piece. So hey.
Well, great stuff. Look, go fix your other bike, and we'll see you at the next round.
Definitely. Yeah,
well done.
And thanks to Red Square, Kawasaki, and SunBet.
And Bridgestone. Bridgestone tires working perfectly, eh?
Like a dream.
Great stuff.
Thanks a lot.
Adi van Dalen, hang on a second. This is not your motorcycle. I thought you weren't going to do the second heat, and you got yourself a motorcycle and started at the back of the grid. Tell us how it went.
I started 28th on the grid. Luckily, my friend, which I don't even know, said I can borrow his bike. His name is Michael Smith. I think. I just want to say
Michael Smith, yeah.
Michael Smith. I just want to say thank you to him first. It's a phenomenal motorcycle. Started on 28th on the rear of the grid because it's a different bike. That's the rules. But I think we're in the top 10, so I'm happy. The bike was good. So yeah, now we move on to the next one.
Great stuff. We'll have a red square. You've got a bit of a repair pull on your hands with your current bike, but we'll see you at the next round.
Thanks, Marty. We'll definitely do. Cheers. Thanks.
With the day's action done and dusted then for round 3 here at Kyalami, it was time to hand out those all-important trophies in the prize giving. Your overall top finishers in the A group, which is your Masters, Clinton Seller taking the victory there ahead of Damien Perifacati in second and Trevor Westman in third. Your B category, which is your Grandmasters, was taken by Graham from Idar ahead of David Faringa in second and Apana Ganapathy in third. Where your C class, which is your Veterans, was taken by Jason Lamb ahead of Johan LaRue in second and Teddy Brook in third. The 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup is made possible by SunBet, Red Square, Bridgestone the tyre of choice, and Kawasaki South Africa. Let's take a look at the overall championship results then after 3 rounds of the 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup. Clinton Seller leading overall ahead of Trevor Westman, AJ Fenton in third, Damien Perifacati in fourth, Han McMahon in fifth, Graham from Idar leading out the Grandmasters in sixth, Jason Lamb leading out the Veterans in seventh, ahead of David Faringa, Johan LaRue, Apana Ganapathy, Adi van Dalen in 11th, and Keith Agliotti in 12th. Christian Carvello after missing round 3 in 13th, Renatus van der Kerk 14th, Piers Canute in 15th, Teddy Brook in 16th, ahead of David Enchikot, Lubas in 18th, ahead of Brian Bontekoning, 20th, Brian Rothqual, ahead of Nicole van Asvegen, Gerard Frey in 22nd, Dieter Huisman in 23rd, Mark Newland 24th, and Michael Smith in 25th. Round 4 of the 2024 SunBet ZX10 Masters Cup will take place at Swartkops Raceway and once again form part of the Extreme Festival. See you there on May the 17th and 18th.